We are facing challenging times. Could you describe a little bit the situation we find all of us in right now?
Yeah, I think that, as you say, we're facing incredibly challenging time and changes which are happening at a speed which is completely exponential and no more linear. It's about the digitalization. We have 7 billion of smartphones in the world today. It's about climate change, unfortunately, with changes that we really have to fight against. It's about urbanization, it's about aging of the population, and unfortunately also it's about geopolitical instability, which we've seen since COVID and war in Ukraine, that is becoming a real sovereignty issue for us.
And it's not just quick changes, it's huge changes. It's also the scale. So how do we not lose hope, but have a positive outlook to the future?
I think we have to have a positive outlook because every generation has its challenges. You're right. What is very different today is that not only do we have to find the solutions, but we have to find them very quickly.
But humans are not really known for being able to adapt very quickly usually. So how do we even get there as a society, which sometimes can be very slow?
I think that it's a valid point. We are always a bit afraid of adapting, but the reality is that we're much better than we think. And if you think of all the energy, all the knowledge, all the technology that is in our hands today, I'm pretty optimistic on the fact that we will find those solutions. The real question is we have to realize very quickly what are the challenges that we face, and we have to be able to put all our energy in solving them.
So if you look at the challenges, and they are multiple as we see them today, what is the most pressing issue of our time?
I think the most important issue is climate change. We are in a situation where not only our behavior is influencing climate change, but also what we call the retroaction loops, i.e. the fact that the more heat we have in our Earth and the more heated the Earth is. It's about the permafrost being freed, it's about the oceans capturing less CO2, it's about every aspect which in a way gets into a vicious circle. And this means that not only should we change our behavior, but we should change it very fast if we don't want to be in a situation where the machine is out of control and there's nothing else we can do.
Most people agree, fortunately right now, that climate change is happening and that it is a problem. But somehow, if you look at politics, you feel like we're not acting as quickly as we would have to avoid it. So what is it? Is it a lack of will? Is it a lack of funding? Or is it both?
I think it's first we're scared. Because at the end of the day, when we don't see concretely the issues, we tend to try to believe that there's no real issue and that things will, at the end of the day, come back to normality. So I think that the first thing is fear, and then there's an issue of cost. We have to be crystal clear on that. It is when you have good income, when you have social protection, facing climate change is an issue that you're ready to dedicate. But on the other hand, for a lot of people, changing their vehicle, changing their habits, or just not traveling, taking planes, whatever, is a sacrifice. So we have also to share the burden of this climate change between the nations and within the nations between the people.
If we look at the costs and what it costs to fight climate change, then this is also where Kommunalkredit comes into play to finance projects that are in the end good for society. Could you elaborate a little bit on how important it is to sponsor, so to say, or to finance the right kind of infrastructure?
Yeah, I think that you're right. The cost is absolutely massive. But at the end of the day, it's not only the money that we will spend, but making sure that we spend this money in the right projects, that we don't waste money on technologies that will be going nowhere or on projects that are not good for the society. And that's where Kommunalkredit has a key role to play, because at the end of the day, yes, we bring funding, but what we bring is expertise. At Kommunalkredit, we've been financing 8 billion in the last years of projects. We're good experts in understanding what works, what doesn't work. We're experts at understanding how you can structure a project so that it doesn't fall apart, because there's always been issue on projects. We're able to share best practices between clients. So that's where we bring value, making sure that every single euro that we will spend will be used in the most efficient way to fight climate change.
Paul Weber today said, yes, we also want to save the world, but we also want it to pay off. Is this maybe the key, the solution to the challenges?
I think that, if you look at the money that we will spend on climate change, it'll come from private clients, from private funds, from public funds, from customers. At the end of the day, for a private investor such as Paul, it is obvious, his mandate is to make sure that he gets profit out of it. So it's logical that profitability will be the key driver. When it comes to public money, it's a bit more mixed. I mean, of course it has to be profitable, because if you don't do something profitable, you're going to sponsor the bad projects. But at the end of the day, for public authorities, it's not just about having a profitable project, it's also about the well-being of the society. And so the way you understand it for the customer, same thing. I have kids, for example, they would be always ready to pay a little bit more if it's something which is greener. So you see, I agree with Paul that for a pure private investor, profitability is the key driver. But for other people, it's a balance between being profitable and also doing good for the society.
And last question, because sometimes when we describe the situation now, it looks a little bit gloom. But how can Europe be back on track again and maybe even use this, what we discussed right now, the transformation to green energy, the reindustrialization, to become a leader again?
I think that, when you look at societies and when you look at civilization from a general standpoint, the key driver, I think, is education and culture. When you have the amount of excellent universities that you have in Europe, which brings so much scientists, when you have all this education and all those technical skills that we have in Europe, plus the culture that we have, which is a culture of cohesion, the culture of maybe longer term, in some cases, views, I think that Europe has all the tools to be the continent that will be the leading force in those transformations. I'm very optimistic on that.